Welcome to the Livfiit Listens podcast, a safe space of growth, personal development, and overall wellness with your host, Olivia Catania. Diving into the realms of all things health, conscious living, mental expansion, and much more, this podcast is designed to help you evolve into your best self and live fit. Let's get into the show. Hello, my beautiful, lovely, amazing, phenomenal, fascinating, exquisite, divine humans. In case you can't tell, I'm off the walls right now. I'm feeling so good. So excited to be podcasting. So excited to be back. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I hope you guys had a lovely weekend or a lovely week ahead, or you're having a good week whenever you're watching this or listening to this. Also, that reminds me, I did create a separate YouTube podcasting channel, and I just want to continue spreading the word in case you missed it, because I know there are definitely visual stands who want to watch. There's two people in this world. There's people who watch podcasts. There's people who listen to podcasts. So if you're someone who wants to watch / and or just support your home girl in the Livfiit Listens podcast, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, heart, heart, then you can click the link down below in the show notes and it will take you directly to the podcasting YouTube channel. Click that subscribe button if you would like, if you're down, if you're feeling it, if you're feeling called. And that's where all of the video podcasts are going to be posted from now on. And I still have all the other previous episodes still on my original vlog channel. I feel weird calling it a vlog channel because it's just like my normal YouTube channel, but when I say like the podcasting YouTube channel, I'm like, that means I need to refer to my other one as something when it's just my YouTube channel, but I only want, anyway. Doesn't matter. And the second little housekeeping thing that I have to announce, which if you are not coming on any of my retreats, you're probably going cross-eyed with me talking about it so much, but this is actually really important. So for all of my retreat travelers, or even people who are like still really on the last minute fence about coming, I just wanted to announce that the payment deadline is coming up. So the payment deadlines to pay in full is 60 days prior to the trip start date, which is coming up. So your traveler payment deadline is April 10th. Okay, so it's coming up very soon. And then for the people on the second wave of the Costa Rica retreat, that payment deadline is April 19th. Okay, so all of your payments need to be completely paid in full. So I'll repeat that. The people who are coming for the first week of the Costa Rica retreat, the payment deadline is April 10th. And people who are coming on the second wave of the retreat, the payment deadline is April 19th. Okay, so you got to make sure you have all your payments paid in full. With that, the trip is going to be completely closed at 50 days prior to the start date. Okay, so that's when there are going to be no more further bookings accepted, is 50 days prior to the trip start date. But people can still book between that 60 and 50 days prior to the trip starting. But if you book within that 10-day window, you'll have to pay in completely full once you book. Okay, so with that, for, again, first wave of the Costa Rica retreat, the trip is going to close. So for no further bookings, April 20th is when you cannot book any further. And then for the second wave of the retreat, the trip is going to close the 29th of April. Okay, so if you're looking to still come on the first wave of the retreat, there are still a few seats there. You can still book between April 10th and the 20th. But if you do book within that 10-day period, you will need to pay in full at the time of purchasing your ticket, as opposed to the ability to have payments. And then secondly, if you're looking to come to the second wave of the retreat, which there are still seats on that, you can book between April 19th and April 29th. But if you're booking within that 10-day window, again, you need to be paying in full. So that was kind of my little housekeeping announcements. If you have any questions, please DM me on Instagram at Livfiit. This is coming up really close. So really soon, so things are approaching. So if you really are thinking about it or you have any questions, feel free to DM me. I'm always here to answer questions. Also with that, in case anyone missed it for any which way, I have created the Costa Rica group messages via GroupMe. So I thought that it gave you guys like a notification, even if you didn't have GroupMe, that I started a group message via GroupMe, but I don't think that's the case. So if you aren't aware, download the GroupMe app, and the Costa Rica group messages should be in there. Well, really only one for whatever wave that you're on. Again, if you do not see yourself in the group message or you're not understanding how to use GroupMe, again, DM a sister. Okay. I think that's everything, but those are really important. Getting into my gratitude for today, I'm honestly feeling so grateful for this whole Costa Rica experience. This is going to be a whole new era, a whole new chapter of life for so many different reasons. And I'm truly, truly, truly so thankful for every single one of you people who are taking a bet on me and this experience and are willing to spend your hard-earned money and your time on me and this experience in Costa Rica and meeting other beautiful people and like believing in this vision. Like it truly means so much to me. And I'm so thankful for every single one of you. And I just truly am so excited, and I'm so excited to have this experience in Costa Rica and experience a new country. I've been wanting to go to Costa Rica ever since high school. Like La Fortuna waterfall, which is actually coincidentally where we're going on the retreat, one of our stops, has been on my vision board like literally since senior year of high school, which is so insane that we're finally actually going. It's crazy. Anyways, but getting into this podcast episode. So I'm going to be honest. I literally I wrote an outline within like 3.5 minutes, basically just freaking clip notes on here instead of like a full-on outline. But I was sitting here thinking like, dang, like, you know, it's the weekend, you know, this is when I record a podcast, and I couldn't really think of what I wanted to speak about. And then I posted a question box today, and this girl sent in and she wanted to speak about failure and like how to move past that, et cetera, and not giving up. And I was like, boom, done. That's it. And I walked up here upstairs, got everything set up, jotted down a few notes, and here we are. So again, don't have ton to go off with here. I'm definitely just like freeballing this, but it just feels right today. So we're going to be talking all about failure in the sense of like how to overcome it, how to deal with the fear of failure, because so many people are crippled by failure, I guess, if you will, and just speaking about not giving up and all this sort of stuff. And also coincidentally, I kind of had a similar conversation with my boyfriend the other day, not necessarily distinctly about failure, but like in this whole realm. And like I was just going off and it just felt good. And I just feel like this is the theme. Like I feel like maybe this is something the collective is dealing with right now. And so I really want to speak on it. And the biggest thing that comes to my mind, first of all, like I said, there's so many different directions that I want to take this episode, but I want to speak about specifically failure itself and the fear of failure, because there's this amazing quote that my brother's best friend from college actually said to him that he has relayed to me, and now it's always in my head no matter what. And I truly feel like it's almost disempowered failure / has taken the power away from failure to the point where failure doesn't have power over me anymore, if that makes sense. Because I feel like I in the past failure was such this like impending doom, like this concept of like, that's where you don't want to be. Like you don't want to be a failure. You don't want to end up failing, all this sort of stuff. When a part of me is kind of like, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? Like it's such this like egoic, man-made, mental, constructive boundary and honestly illusion more than anything that we constructed within ourselves, where we try to micromanage and control our lives so much that we think we can dictate if something was a failure or not. And I just feel like it completely disregards the higher plan that each of us have for a life path, which also, next thing I want to say, if you're someone who wants more like linear, tangible advice, like that, you're just not going to get that from me. Like I struggle so much to speak on these types of topics without having my spirituality and faith pour through in this, because it just doesn't, I don't know how other people, which I guess this is how people's whole view on religion and everything, which I don't classify myself as religious, but like how people will say, people of religions almost use faith and stuff as a crutch to like get them through. But I'm always just like, ignorance is bliss, dog. Like I'm going to choose the mindset or the belief system that's going to help me feel hopeful in my day to day, because why not? Like what's the alternative? I'm just going to feel like hopeless and overwhelmed and like a failure 24/7. Like what's that going to do? So for me, like that's why I am so spiritual and faithful in my own way, in my own definition, because I truly feel like that's what gives me so much clarity and peace of mind in times like this, when I do feel like I'm failing or not living up to my standards or not living up to certain timelines or things like that. Like these viewpoints and almost higher knowing and beliefs that I've adopted are like truly what pull me through, like on the other end, I guess. And so the quote from my brother's friend, I don't know exactly what it was word for word, but essentially is along the lines of that you only fail once you give up. And that is so empowering when you like truly digest that. I'm going to say that again. You only fail once you give up. Essentially saying that your failure is in your own hands, or essentially saying that you fail once you say that you do. And to me, that makes so much sense in so many different ways. Because for example, let's say you're trying to get into a specific college, or college in general, and you keep applying, like you applied and you didn't get in. By accepting that like rejection right there and not trying again, or not, trying another path, then and there, that's when you decided to accept failure. Or for example, me with doing Livfiit. I don't know if you guys know, but I've been working at this for 5-6 years of my life. I've been going on and off of really consistent. I would fall off for like a few months. I would have imposter syndrome. I would have doubts. I would feel like a failure. All these things that I'm talking about, and I would stop. And I vividly remember I'd have those time periods where I'm like, damn, like, did I just fail at this? Like, maybe this just like isn't the thing for me. And then I would truly, like, I'm not kidding, this quote is what would bring me back. You only fail once you give up. And so instead of feeling like, I feel like we think that when we don't hit these like mentally constructed timelines or methods of how things are going to unpan, when we don't feel like we're hitting those check marks, we, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say assert. We just declare ourselves that we're failures because we didn't stick in our idea of how it's going to unfold or our timeline of how it's going to unfold. When like, that's when I just can't help believe in, like there's just more than what meets the eye here in this life, in this lifetime, and in our reality, because it's like, you don't know what your highest, best timeline is. Like, there is a sense of divinity and divine timing to everything that's happening in our lives. And I just truly believe that to my core. Whether you do believe in God or spirit, whatever the case may be, like, I just do think there's a greater synergy that's happening with all things, where some parts need to be moving first in order for the next parts to be moving, and then in order for it to finally be your turn for the perfect timing to create that environment for whatever you're wanting to come into fruition. And so we put so much pressure on these timelines and these checkpoints that we've created for ourselves, and if we don't hit those things, we classify ourselves as failure, when it's just not necessarily the truth, because we're not looking at the big picture. And like, for me, back to my own journey, I could have easily just given up at any point in time, but when I realized that of like, I only fail once I give up, that's what empowered me to keep going, because it just made me realize like, oh, this doesn't mean that I failed. Like, this is just meaning that I'm giving up. It just means that I stopped trying. And that like put so much more responsibility on me and empowered me and encouraged me so much to say, if I truly want this, and if I truly actually don't want to be a quote unquote failure, I don't have to be. I can keep going. I don't need to give up. And that's like what I did year after year after year. I just was like, I'm not going to give up, because once I do, then I'm considered a failure, and I've failed at this. But if I don't want to fail at this because I love it so much and I know I want this to my core, then I'm going to keep going and I'm not going to give up. And now here I am, and I'm not going to say I've hit all my goals by any means, but I'm so much closer towards the direction of life that I want. I'm so happy that I'm able to still do what I'm loving full time. I still have so many more goals that I have to scale this and bring this experience even deeper. But, at the end of the day, at the core, I'm still doing something that I love so much, and I'm so much further towards my goals than I was previously had I just had given up. And also kind of back to like thinking to that kind of higher life path, I guess, if you will, that's kind of almost outside of our own knowledge. Like, it's kind of like those things, like if you look back to things in your past, to things that didn't work out that you wanted so badly, and you look back now having them not had worked out, and you're like, actually, I'm so thankful that didn't go the way that it did, because this happened, or I ended up having this experience which made me found this passion, or I ended up meeting this person, or this was actually such a better fit for me. Sometimes we think that we know what's best for us in the moment, but that's just the fact of the matter is we don't always know that. We know what we want, but we don't always know what we need. And the uni never fails to give you what you need in divine timing. And I just truly believe that to my core. And so instead of feeling like, oh, this didn't happen, I didn't get into this college, or I didn't hit this income threshold at this time, or I didn't get this job at this time, it's like, you don't always know. No one can tell the future. No one can predict the future. And so something that seems so devastating and disheartening or failure in the moment could actually turn out to be the biggest blessing in disguise in the back end once things pan out. And so I never want you guys to rush to conclusions and feel like ultimately best, because you really don't know how things are going to pan out. And that's like the beauty and the peace and the comfort that comes with having an open mind and a trusting mindset as well. And so you think that something was a failure when really it actually led to another even greater success than you could have ever imagined, because something didn't work out. And there's also that super famous quote, rejection is just redirection towards what's meant for you, which I think is so true. So I think kind of with this concept of failure and like kind of, I guess, hitting roadblocks, I was just kind of just talking about this on a YouTube live last week. I just feel like there's kind of that balance between kind of that, when to push and when to pull back, I guess, if you will, and knowing like if you have a dream that's planted in your heart, it was there for a reason. If you have a desire, if you have a certain goal, or if you have a certain career that you really want to pursue, know you have that for a reason. There's a reason why I want to do this so badly, be in social media, and my sister could completely care less, and like she's obsessed with animals and wants to be a veterinarian. Like there's a reason why we all have different passions, and I truly feel like that's our gifts that we're born with, that we're meant to bring to the world and like expand on, and those are our life paths and our lessons that we're meant to go through. So I think there's a balance between, you know, knowing to continue pushing for those seeds that are planted in your heart and those dreams that are in your heart, and to not give up and to keep going, and knowing that divine timing is going to come and the uni is going to give you what you are wanting to come into fruition once you're ready. So there's a balance of that and staying true to that, while also knowing when there's just truly simply resistance, because there is something better waiting for you. And that's the next thing that I also kind of wanted to say. Like, if something isn't working for you, whether in terms of being like the path itself feels blocked, you keep trying to pursue a certain career or start a certain business, and there's just roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, or it's not happening as quickly as you want it to, you need to trust that it's either going to be coming at a better time for you, or something better is in store for you that's meant for you. And you need to trust that. And that's just something I truly have blind faith with to my core. I just truly don't believe that what is meant for you will ever miss you. I just don't. And I think that everything is happening in divine timing, in a divine flow, where past the point that we can comprehend, where we think like, no, I want it now. Like, I'm ready now, I promise. But you don't even realize, because you only know what you know, right? So in a year's time, when we all become wiser and we have more experiences and we have more perspective shifts, that's when we have more perspective than we did in this very moment, right? Because we're continuously evolving and growing. And so you might feel like you want it now. You might feel like you're ready now. But then 2 years from now, looking back at the you right now, you'd be like, there's no way I was ready to handle that responsibility. But in the moment, you felt so ready. And so that's why you just need to truly trust your timeline, where, no, that doesn't mean that you failed right now. Because that's another quote. Just because it's not happening right now does not mean that it's not happening. It just doesn't mean that it's not meant to be in your present reality right now. And you know, our job as humans in this earth school, I guess, if you will, is to continue doing what we can to quote unquote become ready, which is going to mean so many different things for so many different peoples in so many different fields. But, you know, doing what we can to still increasing our consciousness, expanding who we are, increasing awareness, you know, curing and not curing, that was a bad word, healing our traumas, working through our traumas, things like that, working on increasing and expanding our value as humans, things like that, to help us become quote unquote ready. But at the end of the day, it is going to come to us when we are ready, as long as we continue to keep putting in that aligned action, right? I always say we're not like we're just waiting and it's going to miraculously fall into your lap one day once uni declares that you're ready, right? We're always going to be continuously taking aligned action. But there's going to be a day when it all lines up perfectly in order for it actually to come into fruition and for it to fully play out. And I think a perfect example of what I just said is me and myself and my own platform. Like back in college, I remember like I started this page in high school, 2017. I started Livfiit. That's when it was founded. No, I'm kidding. I can help myself. But still, yeah, like 2017, 2018, 2019, I wanted so badly to have a social presence. I wanted to have a platform. I always knew like this is what I wanted for my job. Like to me, that's what it was. There's so many people that are like, oh, I had no idea that. No, I wanted this to be my career path. I wanted to create a movement. I wanted to create a brand that stood for everything it's standing for today. Like truly, I had that same vision back then. But when I look back now, thinking about the responsibility I have right now for my voice, for what I say, for all of the content that I'm having on different platforms, my workload, I was not ready for the responsibility that I have right now. I wasn't. And I also say this so fascinatingly, and I hope that this podcast episode is expanding your mind to not having it be put so much pressure on you, and kind of expanding your mind in a really beautiful way of, wow, everything really does synergistically work out. There is a bigger picture for everyone working together, that it's not just about me. So my failure isn't a sign of my shortcomings. It simply just means that the timing isn't right now, / things aren't in alignment for it to come into fruition properly for the greater good yet. Because when I think about social media, this is like the best, examples I could always think of, because I live it. But like there's so many people on social media who created a platform and got it really fast, right? They blew up, or a lot of people are kind of almost irresponsible with what they say online, but that's like their brand. They just speak their mind, and that's like their presence on social media, when mine is much more like thought out, much more like there's mission based to every piece of content kind of that I'm putting out. And so for someone else, they might have been ready when they were my age with the knowledge I had back then because of what their purpose was, I say for lack of a better term, for their brand. But like for me, since I was doing something that took a little bit more intention, I want to say, and care into what I was saying and the content I was producing, I wasn't ready back then. And that just shows that everyone kind of is on a different path and has different purposes, and that's okay. And it's not to compare this or that. It's simply just to empower you and affirm to you that you do have your own purpose and mission. So you need to trust in your own timeline and how things unfold, because it's truly individual and unique to you for a reason. It's like it's your own thumbprint, like for lack of a better term. Like it is divinely designed for you, and you need to trust it. And back to like the beginning of the episode, when I mentioned that failure kind of feels like an illusion to me, it just truly does, especially when I describe it kind of in that greater picture, like I'm saying. And like failure just sounds so diminishing and like deprecative. Like I just kind of almost don't really stand behind the word. And I'm not trying to be like, the parent who like gives everyone like, oh, just because you participated, like that's good enough. I'm not trying to like, level out the playing field by being like, there's no failures. But I just kind of feel like that in the sense when I keep describing it in this greater perspective of how everything is happening in divine timing. And there's kind of so much more moving parts to make it all happen at the right time, I guess, if you will. And I say that failure is an illusion because like I said, you might think that something was a complete fail and that it didn't work out and blah, 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 and you're a failure, when in reality, it could actually lead to an even greater success story on the back end that you couldn't even foresee yourself. So there's that. Or two, that you could have thought that you failed because you didn't get into this college, you had to go to another one, but you ended up meeting the love of your life. Like, was it really a failure, or was it like kind of this divinely guided path that the uni put you on for a greater good in order for you to be able to meet someone else? Like, I just feel like all of our life paths are, I picture it as like just a bunch of lines on a piece of paper. And when the two lines intersect, like that's kind of that divine meeting. And so sometimes we want to force things to come together so fast when we're not being mindful or having the compassion to understand that, some people have to take the long route because of where their line is and what their line got caught up in on the other side of the paper to end up being able to come and to cross paths with you, whether that's a career path or meeting the right person at the right time or meeting someone who could help your career or, being somewhere to see I literally almost said a newspaper ad and then I'm like, you're Gen Z, but like to seeing an ad for a music thing that you want to perform in or XYZ. It's like so much is divinely happening at once. And we think that failure is such this black and white, like, oh, I said I was going to do this at 30 and I didn't do it. So I'm a failure and I'm unworthy and I suck. It's like, no, like to me, that's such a 3D egoic mindset to be in. And it's lacking that like expansive viewpoint and that lacking that just like that more compassionate view of saying like, hey, what is going on in the greater good? And who am I to assume what is best for me / feel like I'm the one that has full utmost control over my own life timeline. And I just feel like there's a very big difference of failure in the sense of you not hitting your process goals that you had set up for your day, or like not being as disciplined as you would like, or you set the intention to be, and not feeling like you got this job that you felt like was going to completely determine your worth. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's just a difference in that where I feel like there's certain things that are in your control, which are your actions, your thoughts, your behaviors, right? So your habits. And so that I think is a little bit different, that would yield you being a little bit harsher and stricter on yourself to stick with your process goals. Because back to what I said, action steps are everything, right? Aligned action you are responsible for. So you need to, have that self-discipline to keep yourself on track towards your goals. But that's not to say that you are a failure if you didn't hit this big overarching goal, because like I said, what is meant for you will never, ever, ever miss you. And either it's meant to happen at a different time that's not right now, or there's something that's better for you and a better fit for you that is coming your way. So with all that being said, I want to finish off this epi with two really heartwarming, inspiring, empowering stories. Not for me, not that what happened with me, but with people that I've like spoken to the past past couple of weeks that I just feel like was so encouraging and got me juiced up. And I hope it does the same thing to you guys. And the first story is actually this girl who was on my live stream recently, my YouTube live stream. And she asked a question and she said, how do you know when it's time essentially to give up on your dream and just accept that it's not for you? Or when you should just continue to keep going and keep pushing through and not give up. And my first piece of advice is what I said here in this podcast, that the seed of that dream was planted in your heart for a reason. I truly believe we all have our passions, our desires, and like our dream lives for a reason. We have that vision for a reason. It's meant for us to pursue. And so that was my first piece of advice. I said, if you still feel that in your heart and you can't shake it, you're just kind of more so frustrated about the timeline, like I said, or how it's unfolding, then you need to continue going. You cannot give up. You need to keep putting in the work and taking the aligned action to make that dream come into fruition. However, on the contrary, if you feel like, your parent wanted you to pursue a certain job and you couldn't meet the caliber that they wanted you to be in law or whatever the case may be, and you keep trying and it's not there, but you don't really want it in your heart, or you're doing it because you feel like then you'll feel worthy, or then you'll feel like valued in society because you have a job with status, things like that, but you're not feeling it in your heart and it's not working out for you. That to me is another sign. Like for me, that's when I would say, like, let's just, put the gun down, for lack of a better term, and choose something that you truly want to pursue in your heart that's aligned with your soul purpose and where your soul is calling you. That's when I feel like it would be a time to quote unquote give up, I guess, if you will, when it's truly not something that you want to do. But with this girl on the live stream, it was something that she had so strongly wanted in her heart for so long, and it was very specific. It's not like she could apply to other colleges and like, oh, I'll just get into another one. It was a very specific goal that was kind of only one way in, one way out type situation. And so on the live stream, I said, you know what? Don't give up. If it's in your heart, stick with that. And I kid you guys not, the following week, I get a DM, and it's from the girl. And she said that she took my advice to heart and she went in and she applied to the program again. And she officially was able to make it finally to the second round of interviews. So it's not to say that she got in to what she's wanting to pursue. However, she said this is the furthest she has ever gotten in the interview process. And she was just so ecstatic, so excited, and so happy. And even now, like thinking about that, like it makes me, I just got the chills for so many different reasons. But like, I truly, at the end of the day, I just feel like now there's so many things running through my head. First of all, continuing on the story, I'm so proud of her for her resilience, her grit, her perseverance to keep going. And I think she stands for a perfect example of how far just not giving up can get you. And sometimes the uni will truly just test your commitment and how badly you want something in order for it to deliver it to you. You just have to stay devoted. Back to my previous podcast episode, you need to show your devotion to what you truly want, and eventually like you will persevere. Like I say, also, you just got to stay in line. Like eventually there's people who will get tired of waiting and will get out of line. But if you want something so badly, you're not going to freaking move out of line. And that's kind of what I did. I was like, I'm having this be my job, so I'm not freaking moving until I get it. And so I'm going to stay in line, because eventually my turn is going to come as long as I stay in line, no matter how long it takes or how long I need to wait. And then here we are. It truly eventually comes. That's another thing that really helps me. And so same thing with this lovely girl. Like she just stayed in line. She kept going. And now she finally has she's one more further step down the road. And even, wherever this takes her, it almost doesn't matter, because it's more of like the principle of the thing, of her character building that she showed by continuing to go, and just even how grateful she can feel even just to be able to experience this next milestone in such a prestigious journey into this program. And I'm just so proud of her. And it just was so, so, so heartwarming to read that message, because Livfiit is such a more of a complex brand than most people understand from the surface level. They think like, oh yeah, like Livfiit, it's like a fitness page, cool. But there's just so much that this page stands for, and I truly think like you guys, my podcast listeners, understand it more than anyone, better than anyone. And one of the things that I think why Livfiit means so much to me is like, more than anything, this brand taught me so much in terms of character building and who you are as a person that matters most, and more so just the deeper rooted meaning of everything, of saying like, if you want something, you can go get it, and having enough self-love and discipline to create a life you love, because we only get one life on this planet right now. And it's our job and our duty to create a life that we absolutely love and are passionate about, and we can live consciously and fully and passionately with, instead of just kind of mindlessly going through life. And to hear that, just any piece of advice from me or this brand, how that can inspire other people to live a life that they're fully like fulfilled from, and like take the risk and live life on offense, and like just truly reclaim their right to a life of enjoyment and pleasure and passion and fulfillment and purpose. Like, that gives me chills. And to me, it's like that almost is my purpose above anything, and my mission above anything is inspiring and leading people to go live a life that they fucking love, like that they are so passionate about, that makes them feel alive and happy to be here. Like, that's what means so much to me, and that's what gets me so juiced up every day. And that's what hits me the hardest when I hear messages like that from people that are so priceless, that could never pay me enough to go get a stable 9-to-5 job. Like, this is just, it fills me up in a way I can't explain, and I'm so humbled every single day to think that I am able to impact even one person's life for the better, or to make them feel 1% happier or 1% more grateful, or change their perspective in a self-serving way. That to me is truly what I feel like my purpose is. And I'm so honored to be that person for you guys, and to be this safe space for you guys, and to create this safe space. And I hope you guys feel like this space is a warm, empowering hug. And yeah, I love you guys so much. So my second story is, this was someone more so in my personal life, and they've been working on creating this project, their own brand, for quite some time, again, like 4 years. And he has a more kind of interesting situation where he is in need of someone. He needs someone with a certain skill set to he needs to outsource, I guess, a certain part of the project. Like, he can't do it in his skill set. And so he needs an expert in that field to be able to continue to bring this brand to the next phase. And, I was just talking about this with him the other day, because he was really frustrated about how long it's been taking, right? He's been slowly working at this for 4 years on and off, kind of similar to what I had been doing. And he was just really bummed that he felt like he couldn't find the correct partner that he really needs to be able to pursue this and take this to the next level. And my piece of advice that I had for him, which again is something that I touched on, is just the fact that there are more moving parts than we think to be able to make it all work. And let me explain. I basically was saying to him how there may be your perfect partner, right? Or this person who is going to be a very good fit for you to be your partner in this business venture. But right now, you just never know how the cookie's going to crumble. Right now, he could be caught up in a job where he's still fully in his 9-to-5 job, and he's been thinking about leaving to start something entrepreneurial, but he doesn't have the balls to do it yet. And so he's still in the flow of his 9-to-5 job. And so he's just not ready, where if you were to go approach him on the street, he would feel turned off by it, because he's still in his ego. I just bumped the mic. He's still living in his fear. He wouldn't feel ready to take the leap on something entrepreneurial. So in that moment, he would turn you down. Whereas opposed to in a year from now, you never know it. Like, everything is just a divine series of events and all like synchronicities. And so you never know, the same person who would be like his ideal partner for this business venture, he might finally have like the final straw at his work where he was like, this is it. I'm done. I'm leaving. And he still doesn't have the idea to pursue the same business venture, but then he goes and does this recreationally and meets this person, which sparks his idea in him for this business need, for him to have more respect for the business idea. He then comes across my friend, and they get to talking. My friend tells him the problem that he's trying to solve with his business venture. And now, since he went through all these life experiences, now he feels more susceptible to the problem at hand that they're trying to solve with his business, and now would be willing to go into business with him. Whereas opposed to if you met him a year earlier, the business idea wouldn't have resonated with him. He wouldn't have felt passionate about it. He wouldn't have felt a pull to go do it, because it's all in divine timing, and it wouldn't have been a good time for him. So that's kind of what I mean when I say like there's just more moving parts to it that need to happen to make it all work. Like, there's so many different more moving pieces that are going on, and we think like, I'm ready now, so why isn't it happening? I'm ready now. There's other people, other scenarios, other environments, other situations that need to play out in order for your perfect interaction, perfect circumstance, and perfect situation to be able to play out as well. And so next time you're feeling frustrated that something isn't happening so quickly, or you feel ready, so why isn't it here yet? first of all, you may feel ready when you may actually not be ready. There may be another experience that you aren't aware of yet that needs to happen for you to be able to expand your awareness. Or two, something else may need to happen on kind of the domino effect or the butterfly effect in order for it to actually arrive in your reality in divine timing, if that makes sense. So I hope that sometimes I struggle to explain that. I just feel like sometimes like the result of other circumstances that's not in your immediate reality like needs to play out in order to have that be what you're looking for to contribute to your reality, to have your situation and circumstance play out, if that makes sense. So anyways, for my affirmation for this podcast, I'm not going to lie, I jotted down like 3 different affirmations when I was like speed outlining this because I just was like, I just want to record this. But the one that I finally arrived on that felt the best to me, it says, I am free of the fear of failure and fearlessly pursue my dreams. I am free of the fear of failure and fearlessly pursue my dreams. And I'm going to say this one more time. You only fail once you give up. So, newsflash, in case it wasn't clear in this episode, if you don't want to fail, then don't give up. It's as simple as that. So I really hope you guys love this episode. I love this and my heart feels so warm being able to deliver this message to you guys. I really hope it helps someone out there who really needs to hear this. I believe in you guys so much. You have it in you. Listen to your gut, listen to your heart, chase after your passions, chase after what makes you feel alive, live a life that you love because you deserve it. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to go subscribe to the podcast YouTube channel. Give the video a thumbs up if you're watching. Give it this podcast a rating and review if you haven't already. Take a screenshot, share it with friends, post on your Instagram story. Like word of mouth is truly what helps this podcast grow so much. So thank you guys so much for all of your love and support. I'm sending you so much love. I love you guys so much. I'm so thankful for you. And hopefully I'll see you in the next epi. Peace out, my loves.